Hi, welcome to the first mini lecture for Introduction to World Religions Hybrid Edition. The idea here is that you're going to work through the lectures online so that we can free up more time for class discussion when we're all together in the class. The way we're going to do that is that I've posted these online lectures. Here's the first one on Judaism, Genesis. And you're going to make your way through this material, and occasionally you'll see an image like this that says click for mini lecture, and of course whenever you see that you'll click that, and I'll give you a 2 or 3 minute explanation of some of the material you're going through. And when you get to the end of the lecture, when you've worked through all of the material, then there will be a question for you to answer. And then you can write a short reflection paper, just about 1 page or so, 250 words, and then you're going to post that online to Blackboard. You go to our course, you go to assignments, and then you click reflection papers, and then the right reflection here, and then you'll be able to upload your paper, and then I can just check and make sure that you've gotten the main points of the lecture. Now, the first lecture focuses on Genesis, which is of course an appropriate place for us to begin a course, because Genesis means beginning. But we're going to be looking at the book of Genesis in the Bible from a different perspective than you may have looked at it before. The approach was developed in the 19th century, and it's foundational for biblical studies. And it's a way of looking at biblical texts such as the Torah, which is what we're focusing on here, the first 5 books of Genesis, of the first 5 books of the Bible, and subjecting them to a kind of critical analysis that you may not be familiar with. It's not necessarily the way it might be approached in a church setting, but in an academic setting, this has become the standard way to read sacred texts. It's a very rational, analytical approach where we're thinking about the historical context in which the material was developed, and looking for clues within the text itself to try and understand how these texts are produced and what the basic ideas are. What we're going to be looking at today in the book of Genesis is something called the documentary hypothesis, which talks about this approach to thinking about the kinds of contradictions and inconsistencies that you find if you look very carefully at different sections of the Bible. They may seem like they were written by different authors at different times, but of course the traditional assumption, in this case from the Jewish perspective, is that the 5 books of the 5 books of Moses were all written by Moses. They were written by one person at one time under a kind of divine inspiration that they're supposed to be word for word accurate. But careful analysis suggests that there are some inconsistencies that might challenge that, and the documentary hypothesis was a way to try and understand an alternate explanation for how the text may have developed. So if you look at this chart over here, you can see that it talks about different traditions, the northern tradition, the southern traditions, and it's got letters J, E, P, D. They refer to different perspectives. As you scroll through the material here, you'll see brief summaries of what is characteristic of each of these perspectives. And so what I want you to do after the mini lecture is done is to read through that material, try and get a sense for what characterizes these different sections of the Bible. And then after that, we're going to look carefully at 2 different accounts of creation in the book of Genesis. They might have be very familiar with these accounts, and they may have appeared to you in the past as being a single unified account. But we're going to look for inconsistencies in those 2 accounts to try and see why scholars develop this approach to looking at the Bible. And then we will think about what are the implications of reading the Bible in this way. So for now, you can go through, look through this material, and then when we get to the first two accounts of creation in Genesis. There will be another mini lecture to help walk you through that a little bit. Good luck!